All right, so we're going to bring up the panelists. We're going to jump into this. We're going to spend about an hour going over online subscription businesses, figure out how you all are going to make a bunch of money. And then we're going to break here. They're going to break down the room. We're going to have a reception. We're going to have a good old time. So thank you all for coming out. So Jeff, Robert, Mark, come on up, guys, and give them a round of applause. So let's start off with just do introductions. If you can let folks know who you are, a quick bit about your background, and then a bit about your business, and then we'll jump into the other topics. So Jeff.
Gosh, I don't have it prepared. My name's Jeff Tinsley. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called MyLife.com. We have a unique people search service that connects people that you can't find on Facebook, and we're getting into connections for both personal and business reasons. You may have seen our television ads that tell you can go to the site and find out who's searching for you. Just type in your name. You can see if you have any searches for you. And big believer in the online subscription space is my favorite topic in the world. So thank you for having me.
You got it.
Thanks for having me too, Jason. Appreciate it. So my name's Mark Kapczynski. I run corporate development and strategy for Experian's consumer business. So if you, that's Experian, not Expedia. So a lot of my friends kind of get us mixed up. We're more like the credit bureau. So on the consumer side of the business, it's brands like freecreditreport.com, Free Credit Score. We made an acquisition late last year of creditreport.com, and we have a whole suite of different membership products that we offer to the consumer market. So thanks.
I'm dreading seeing our website right now. So I'm Josh Meyers. I'm the CEO of People Meet.
I can show a different website. Do you want me to go like Facebook or?
Show.
What do you want me to do here?
Yeah, we have like we operate about 30 different websites. This is our corporate site, which someone pointed out to me the other day. It says the market will grow to 1.2 billion by 2009. So if that's an example of the insights you're going to get from me today, you're going to be in big trouble. I can also see that Jason's learning a lot about online subscription already because don't share the code means share the code. It's more exclusive that way. Am I right? Don't share the code.
Kill him here, dude. Come on. Like, give me like 10 minutes in before you start. Like,
so People Media, we operate targeted dating sites. Senior people meet, single parent meet. We were acquired by Match.com in 2009, so we're now part of IAC family. A Match has about just short of 2 million paid subscribers in the U.S., and we've been growing 20-30% a year for the last couple of years. Before that, I was at Yahoo and in investment banking.
Thanks, Jason. Delighted to be here. My name is Rob Angarita. I'm the co-founder of Cramster. Cramster is the leading provider of homework help for college students. Basically, from day one, we identified a pain students would actually pay for, and that's helping them get unstuck when they need it most. And whether it's for their homework due tomorrow or preparing for a midterm or final that will make or break their grade, we've helped more than 1 million college students have depended on Cramster. Now we're part of a bigger vision as part of Chegg, and that's to help students save time, save money, get smarter. We're based in Pasadena, and I just have to say that we currently have 15 open positions. We're looking for developers, product, accounting, and we're growing. So we're definitely taking full advantage of Chegg's momentum and resources. Thanks.
all right, so let's just get a sense of you all in the audience, just so we all know what we're dealing with here. If you are currently working on your own company or plan to start something in the next couple months or have been an entrepreneur in the past, raise your hand. All right. Now, how many of you right now are somehow involved, work for, or starting businesses that involve some kind of subscription model? All right. We got a lot of folks out here. And for the rest of you, how many of you came here because you're interested in learning more about specifically how to get better at subscription? All right. Sounds great. So let's start off with the most kind of generic, simple questions, but why subscription? What is it about a subscription-based business that that gets you interested in wanting to monetize your product or service that way? And what's inherently different about it? What's better? What do you like about it? Like, why subscription?
Starting with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, it was really interesting to see how many hands went up that you either are doing something with subscriptions or you're thinking about it. That was not the case many, years ago. The model has come in vogue because it works. As long as you're providing a great service that delivers ongoing value to customers. I've been one of the guys shouting out there, and Jason will tell you, I was in his office shouting, Jason, you're undervaluing your content, and people will pay for it, and people will even pay on a subscription model. And, it's a model that works, but the whole thing is that a lot of people are scared to actually just ask for the money. They don't feel good enough about their product or service, but too many people are undervaluing what they have. The community will make its choice whether or not your services are worth it, and they probably are. It doesn't require a lot of people to value what you have in order to create an incredible, scalable business model that's profitable at the end of the day.
Well, I think it's kind of a combination of things. I mean, we probably needed someone from the entertainment industry or a publisher up here to kind of give you a little bit of that. I mean, from our point of view, what other model is there for us, right? I mean, we have almost to your point, an incredibly valuable asset in everyone probably in this room's credit report and credit information, and we like to make that available to folks. And the best model that works for us is that subscription where we have all the monitoring and alerting type of services. So we use subscription as a way of providing that value add every single day to the consumer.
So, one of the things I was thinking about is how, with an online advertising supported business, you're going to make maybe 20 cents per user or something like that. When you charge for content, you make $10, $20, $30, $40 per user per month. So I think that's one of the key things that distinguishes the two. And in order to build a business at scale and support everything you're going to need to do to support your product, you have to either have a lot of users at 20 cents per or a smaller number at 10 or 20 or $30. So I think subscription businesses are well suited for things that meet the needs of smaller audiences, not necessarily mass market products like Facebook, but if you look at like our products, they're community-driven products, but something like Senior People Meet is 20 times the size of the nearest competitor. It's really the only place that someone sort of in their 50s, 60s, 70s can go, and it's a dating site just for them, so we're able to charge for it, and obviously Match, eHarmony, and other dating models are similar. But
do you have to make it really big font? Is it like 18-point font for these folks?
Yeah, okay. It's like that. It comes with reading glasses. But yeah, so I think that's a key factor. I was at Yahoo before, and there's always that sexy math of, we have 100 million uniques, we make 20 cents per unique. If we could just make it 40 cents, we'd be, X. But that going from 20 to 40 cents is hugely difficult. Maybe as the ad market develops, I think, smaller and smaller size businesses could be ad supported. But I think as it stands today, subscription is a great option to make a smaller opportunity scale.
So you're always supposed to be surveying your customers, and we have a cancellation survey, an optional cancellation survey for our students to tell us what they think, what they didn't like, and we have a LCD in our office, and it's just constantly going through. And there's always this theme of like, why are you guys making this a subscription? Why can't I just pay a la carte for a question, a la carte for accessing a piece of content? And the answer is because we made a strategic decision with our business model, and reoccurring revenue is a beautiful thing. And it's kind of like a gym, when you're paying for a gym, and if you don't go for a month, you're still being charged. So we value that. The other part about to add to that, there's two components to it. So on the one hand, if your product is really good and people are using it, they're more likely to tell other people. So you want more usage. On the other hand, if they're not using it, you don't have the cost of support for that group of members. So there's benefits on both sides. One other point is that a subscription business is so predictable. So we've been around for a while, and I was mentioning to Jason's partner Alon earlier that currently after the first 2 weeks of our the year, I can already predict what the revenue will be for the rest of the year.
So Rob, can you talk about Cramster? Because I think one of the things that's different, that's different about your story than a lot of folks here is, we started around the same time. And I remember, 2-3 years ago when we were going to lunch and talking, and you were looking to raise money, and you just raised that first round of capital. And a lot of folks up here have had very successful businesses. They're buying businesses. But talk really briefly about the story of Cramster, how you got it to where it was, and then when you made the decision that you were going to monetize your service via subscription. Because you just started about 3.5 years ago, right?
No, it's been an 8-year run.
Oh, I'm totally wrong on that.
We just got acquired, and it's like, finally.
But when did you raise your first round?
So that's the interesting part. So for the first 4 years, we bootstrapped. And it was, from day one, it was paid only. So just paid. There was no like freemium, free service. And that kind of got built into our, DNA, call it.
And you're helping folks answer educational questions, like homework questions.
So
it was mostly math to start, right?
It's math, science, engineering. So like a pain that someone is going to pay for, But coming back, so we bootstrapped, and we got really, really used to making sure that our lifetime value was greater than the cost to acquire, the cost to service, plus fixed costs. We had no choice, So then when we actually raised money, it was really hard for us to be more aggressive and spend because we weren't used to that. 4 years of bootstrapping, and you take this money and you're supposed to be much more aggressive with your cost of acquisition. I remember having lunch with Josh and asking him about this. It's hard to make that transition. So we always made sure that we were that we were profitable, that we were controlling our costs from that perspective.
Yeah, a point on that. It's like our businesses are really simple, sort of at a high level. They're get more people, get them as efficiently as you can, more efficiently over time potentially. Understand how much they're worth and try to make them worth more. And on that point, sort of undervaluing them will make you not as aggressive as you should be. So if you only look at the value of a customer over the first 6 months or 12 months and they attrite, and then you say, okay, well that means customers are worth 6 months, but you have to follow them, and if you follow them for 3 or 4 or 5 years, you say, oh, they come back. They tell someone else. So now you have a more robust understanding of what a customer's worth. You realize you can pay more than you thought, and you can open up more advertising opportunities. And sometimes, having a customer be worth 5 or 10% more than what you thought they were is exponentially important in terms of how much ad inventory might be available to you at a profit. So,
other than go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think for the audience, maybe you probably noticed that the people that advertise actually charge for something. You do not see people advertising, or very rarely do you see companies buying ads that have a pure advertising model, to the point that was made earlier, because for that customer that comes into your site with an ad model, you're not making enough money and enough profit to be able to funnel that profit back into acquiring more customers to scale and grow the business, right? So just take a look around you at who's advertising. They're charging for something.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the key pieces I think you started to bring up too was retention. And so for us, I know we've been talking with Jason. We're trying to figure out new ways that our customers can stay longer. If you think about what we sell, right? It is a membership-based product. We sell it on a monthly basis, right? But it's very life event, life activity oriented, right? You buy a house, you're not going to buy a house for another few years, or you're going to buy a car once and buy it a few years later. So for us, we're always looking for new ways we can create additional membership benefit programs as part of this, so that the retention value and longevity of our clients continues.
Let's talk about
more
that
than
too.
Just acquisition.
Should more people be thinking about a subscription business? Because one of the things is, I think sometimes people are surprised at the kind of products that can do really well with subscription. Rob, you talked about people want help with a specific question. Jeff, people are coming to MyLife, in some cases because they're looking for the people that search for them. People are looking for a credit report in a specific case. I think dating's a different site, but when people come for documents, they're not always looking for lots of documents. They have one document. So what would be your advice? Is there any product that doesn't work for subscription?
I have to tell you guys, so I'm such a fan of the whole subscription model. Jason knows this. I started another company called Media Pass, right? And I am pitching it here. It created the easiest way for somebody to just drop some code on their site to charge for access to their articles and content or whatever they've got. And what the company's proven is that people will pay for all kinds of, just for everything. I mean, the MediaPass company actually has comedians that have videos they're charging for. I wish Matt could help me out because I don't have the whole list, right? I'm just the investor and the guy that had the idea. Sites that charge for access to games for kids, everything, articles that you wouldn't even expect.
But your also point of view that you've told me a lot, and you also say is, try charging for everything. Don't be bashful about trying to charge for anything. And you'll be really surprised at what people will pay for, and don't assume up front what they won't pay for. Let them tell you what they will and won't pay for.
Yeah, I mean, you really will be surprised, and it's interesting. The easiest way to kind of explain how powerful the subscription model is to think about getting 1,000. I'll just go through it real quick. 1,000 visitors. Let's say you get 100 visitors to your site, and you were only able to get, let's say you were able to get 2% of those people to pay, right? So you'd have 2 people. Let's say they're paying $5 a month, right? That's $10 a month there. And then if you had actually 1,000 times 1,000, I should have started with 1,000, right, in order to make it easier, because I'm trying to compare it to effective CPM yield. That'd be $100 CPM on those visitors by just asking them and only getting 2% of the people to pay $5 a month. And by the way, that recurs. What are you going to make from advertising on those 1,000 people going there? Good luck. You're going to make $2, $3. The business model crushes the other models, but you just need to ask. Don't be shy. Go use MediaPass.com.
What was the response when? Because I think when people first started seeing the commercials for free credit report and products like it, I don't think a lot of us assumed that it was a subscription product. You think you're going to get it. What was the response when
for free?
Yeah, well, no, just that you probably pay one time. What was the response when you first launched those products, or it was something like a credit report? How was the response to the consumers when they found out that it was going to be a monthly subscription product instead of just get it for free, you pay one time?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think like all of us here, right? I mean, consumers come to our businesses for a specific need, right? In the moment, they want to connect with someone, or they need help with homework, or in our case, they need their credit score, credit report, because they're trying to buy something or make an acquisition. So there is some kind of hook, right, that they're immediately looking for. It's then that point that you have the opportunity to convince that consumer to then stay with you longer and show them the whole array of products. So in our particular case, we have one of our products, freecreditscore.com, is something that we calculate the score. We can provide that score for free, and as part of getting consumers to come and see what their credit score is, we can try to convince them to actually subscribe into our other monitoring products or credit report products and so on. So we actually give something away for free in order to try to convince them to enjoy some of the other products that we offer. And then the key is, how do we keep them paying, so to speak, that $5 every month?
So Josh, can you talk about how much ability you have as a business to actually change the timeline of how long somebody will stay? Like with dating, it seems like, well, people are going to use it for as long as they use it, and then they're going to quit. So what are the things you actually do to make sure that your customers stay on longer and have a better experience, or you maximize that revenue?
Well, we can't change it dramatically. There's sort of a natural life cycle to it, but we can influence it. Probably the biggest thing that we do is what package we sell them right out of the gate. So we give discounts for going for 6 months, for instance. So if you pay for a monthly package, you pay $14.95. If you buy a 6-month package, you pay $9.95 a month effectively, and you pay it all up front, and you commit to be on for 6 months. So that's a simple one, but now right out of the gate, we already know what the subscriber's worth. It gives us a lot of predictability around things, and we know what a 1-month subscriber looks like. We know how long they typically stay. We know what they're worth to us, and we of course price 6 months at something that we know works for us. Then we also tack on extra features to it. So we have something called message read notification, which is sort of like in Outlook, your read receipts or your confirms, right? So maybe you send a message to someone, you didn't know that they haven't responded to you, but it's nice to know that they read it. It gives you a sense. So we charge for that. If someone doesn't take that within some first beginning of their life cycle, we might offer it to them for free if they are exhibiting behaviors that suggest to us that having that feature might reactivate them, for instance. So, you know, if someone's kind of like, it's not really working for me, I haven't really gotten any, well, maybe giving them that feature gives them sort of new life as a subscriber, and maybe being able to see that that their messages are getting read, sort of, and which ones are and which ones are, gives them sort of something that mimics response and kind of keeps them going for a little longer, and, you know, also might push them through to the point where they're actually successful.
Other than your own companies, what are the companies you would say absolutely get subscription and do it best? Either from a product standpoint, fulfillment order, like who do you say, other than your own companies, are just stellar at, you know, running subscription businesses online?
I mean, I'll give you my favorite one is Amazon, actually, because Amazon, you know, if you're a small business or
Prime or
not necessarily Prime, but actually on the sales side, right? So if you set up your own small business or small storefront, right, it's actually a whole entire multi-billion-dollar membership business that they have. That most people don't really think of them in that particular way, but their whole.
If you become a vendor to sell stuff on Amazon.
On Amazon, or build your storefront with their toolkit, right? Which forces you to also sell on Amazon, which in essence should be a good thing. But the whole point of it is, if you look at what they do, in those first 30 days, they try to find a way to sell at least one of your products. And once they've sold one of your products for you, I mean, it's just such a euphoric feeling, right? That it's like, yeah, of course I'll commit to that next month, and then they'll sell a few more and more and more, and they completely have you hooked, right? But they look at it purely from what happens in those first 30 days that you've given them the credit card, you've paid, and you're testing it out. You have to give them some kind of bit of feedback. And in their particular case, it's let's sell at least one, you know, their commitment is sell at least one of your goods.
Rob, what's, in your opinion, the best example of subscription online, other than Cramster?
I mean, I've done pretty well with Netflix. You know, they've kind of pioneered the rental.
How many people here are Netflix members?
How many people own the stock? Well, they've done pretty, you know, a year ago, 2 years
How many?
ago.
I was curious. How many of you have signed up for Netflix and canceled? Less, but a fair amount. Okay. Could probably give them some advice on how to do it. All right. What's your favorite? What subscription company do you think gets it the best?
These guys do. I mean, they're fantastic at it, because we think that the freemium model works very well, where you can put something out there, give something for free, and convince the customer that there's ongoing value, and you better deliver on that ongoing value. And they're a great example also, because they are taking advantage of all of the customer acquisition opportunities, online media, online advertising, as well as offline advertising through television to scale, and saw them do it. That's why we went to television, because we could. And so once you start building the business, you have those opportunities to scale. And so I think they're a great example.
You're a giver.
And then, Josh, what do you think?
I was going to say Netflix, but I'll go with maybe Xbox Live, something like that.
And
I mean, I think Netflix just gives you everything, right? It's such a no-brainer. I mean, if you want Netflix on Xbox or on your phone or anywhere. I mean, I think, the satellite, DirecTV and guys like that obviously do well, but it's more of a monopoly, so I don't know if it's fair.
But even forgetting digital, we all kind of gave digital examples. I mean, the gym, right? Gym memberships is the best model in the world, right? And again, still goes back to that same kind of model, which is, they get you to sign up and they give you a bunch of free training sessions to try to get you hooked on using the gym. And it's all about getting people through that first little trial period. Once you get someone through the trial period, the rest is almost easy.
The gym makes you come in person to cancel. That's true. Some of them do. You have to come down in person to cancel, because there's a lot of important paperwork.
All right, so let's talk about key metrics. I know that Jeff, you're obsessive about this. Josh, you are also. What are the metrics? What are the KPIs? What are the things that you look at the first thing each morning in your business? What are the things unique to a subscription business that you look at that all the folks here should be looking at as well, or thinking about looking at as they build out their subscription businesses?
Because we're spending a lot of money acquiring customers, I mean, we'll probably spend around $50 million this year just on television and online. I'm very simply, like Josh was mentioning, looking at what did it cost us to get the customers.
Where do you spend that money? I mean, what are can you give some more color and detail into where you actually spend money to acquire customers and what those things look like, so that other folks can have some sense of what folks are doing?
When you're going to run a subscription business and when you're going to spend money out there in the market, you better watch the numbers very, very closely. Okay, so looking at the numbers and looking at the details on where we're spending the money. We'll spend the money anywhere where it makes sense, of course, right?
On Facebook, MySpace?
Everywhere where it makes sense. Facebook, the search engines, affiliates,
What are
television,
some good
everything.
gems of places that work well for you? What are some places that people might not think would work well that have converted really well for you?
You just never know, and that's where it comes down to measurement, quite honestly. You have to do your work to put the systems in place so you can
And you were kind of
measure.
surprised by TV, right? You weren't sure.
Television's been amazing. We're working with the same firm. I think we're a group called Ocean Media. They are doing the buying for us and worked with a great creative group called Handmade Productions. And television's been amazing. It's you're looking for places where you can get a low cost to get a user in the door. You want to make sure you measure what the value is of that user, and ideally want to be able to forecast what the value of that user is going to be. And then you want to look for channels where you can spend more money and scale. And you're always willing, of course, to cut kind of your margin on what you're going to make versus what it costs if you can get a lot more of those people. So you just running this kind of a business and spending money out there in the marketplace, and since we're focused on profit, you just really have to start paying close attention to the numbers and invest in the systems to track them and monitor them and analyze them.
Are there any specific metrics you watch really closely, like top 3 or 4 metrics?
Well, I mean, that's kind of at the start of the funnel, right? That's the first kind of metric we're going, what were our costs? What are they worth? What were they worth quickly? What are they forecasted to be worth? What do the forecasts say that how they're going to renew? And there are a lot of metrics we're looking at. In the very simplest way, though, you're looking at what did they cost to get, and what do you believe they're going to be worth, factoring in all the renewal revenue and everything.
Yeah. So, Josh, can you talk a little more about that? Can you talk about like this lifetime value LTV formula and how you look at it, and how do you that you're going to spend against what the full lifetime value of a user is, and what do you do early on before you know what the lifetime value of a user is? But walk through that whole kind of model of how you should be thinking about acquiring traffic and paying for it against the the full value that customer will be.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think one of the things that's key is, as an organization, one of the things I did when I first came in was middle of 2007. It was 10 guys in a dark room, mostly developers, and there wasn't a lot of institutions.
Can you tell a little bit more about I mean, there was a couple sites, right? It was a site called Black People Meet.
It was middle of 2007. The company was started in 2002. A couple of founders down in Arizona. They basically built a tech team. The founder, the primary founder, was the product, the marketing, the everything, probably like a lot of folks are here and start out. When I got down there, it was about 20 million in revenue, about 8 million in profit. And since then, we've sort of tripled it and then some on a number of different metrics. And one of the things that I did right away, like before I even hired anyone, I developed with the key tech guy what are going to be the metrics that we're going to look at, and sort of what I sort of have a hierarchy from there's data, and then there are metrics, and then there are KPIs. So, how do you get out of it? There's so much data, it's overwhelming. And even metrics, there's so many metrics, it's overwhelming. So you have to get up to that level where you've synthesized information into something that's telling you exactly what's going on. So one of the things we look at is, we call it, probably a lot of people do, return on ad spend, and we look at time frames. So for a particular day's advertising, like today's advertising that we just did, we'll be looking at how it converts in the first 24 hours. And then we'll look at the same day's advertising and look how it's converting within 48 hours. And then we'll look at it in 7 days and 14 days. We do that for every single day, for every single dollar, for every single placement, for every single keyword, all the way down to that level. And that information about how many dollars we're bringing in per dollar of ad spend, like say we bring in 45 cents per dollar of ad spend in the first 14 days on a particular placement, we can predict from that information what's going to be our lifetime margin. So over the 3-year life of a customer. So that's how we do it, and we look at it every day. And so because I'm not involved in the details anymore of the online advertising, I have there are other people who look at the 24-hour stuff. I don't look at that anymore. But for them, that's really important. Their whole life is in the 24 hours. Mine is on sort of the bigger picture. I'm looking at, more lifetime value kind of stuff and some of the longer horizon type of metrics.
Rob?
To add to that, I think you should factor what is your, strategic objective. What phase are you in your business? So if you're at customer validation, you're probably just, your number one metric will be how many paid members did you get, just to validate they're going to actually buy it. If you're out raising money and, what seems to be more valuable at that time is a number of members, and you can get free members easier, you'll probably put more efforts toward that and be tracking that religiously. If you're looking to get acquired and you realize that the multiple is going to be off sales, you're probably going to do everything in your power to make sure that your sales is your number one metric and, the other things become secondary. And, now being under, as part of another company, we're being communicated, we want you to focus on this. So I would ask you to think about, what is the company's number one strategic objective, and it'll have one metric. And everybody knows that that's number one.
Mark, I've heard some conflicting news about. So let's talk about from the position of an acquirer, someone that's buying companies, which you do at Experian. So if any of you got good businesses that you're trying to get bought by Experian, come talk to Mark. They bought Lower My Bills and Price Grabber and all the folks in online space. But is it more attractive or less attractive when you're buying a company that's got a subscription model? And I've heard honestly different things, that some people value the multiple more, and then others value it less. So is it all over the board, or how do you see it from a position of somebody buying companies?
From a company our size, unless you have sort of real revenue and real significant profit, it really doesn't matter, right? Because, we're such a large entity at this point, right, that we can't look at, an extra few $1 million here and there isn't going to move the needle for us, right? So we have to look at things really on, if it's a smaller deal, it's really more about people or technology,
Are you looking
right?
at multiples, of revenue or multiples of profit?
But again, it really depends on size, right? On something larger, right, where there actually is significant revenue and or profit, right? We can try to create a valuation off either combination or both, right? We have to kind of, it's hard because you have to really look at what their business is and what the potential of that membership base is.
So is
right?
there any number, are you seeing, what multiple of EBITDA, for example, would you see for a subscription business, let's say doing $50 million a year in top line revenue and $20 million in profit?
They're low, right? They're, 1.5
He's
to
just
5.
negotiating with all of you in this room. He doesn't want to overpay for anybody.
Trust me, we do.
Have you found
we really don't. You know that, right?
If you were, Jeff, if you were doing this,
look. I participate in a lot of investment conferences and stuff, and peers in my space. It's like 1.5 to 5x. 5x is really astronomically high.
But Jeff, if you were making the same amount of money you are right now from advertising, do you think you'd get a higher multiple or a lower multiple in a sales process for your company?
I think the market is shifting, you guys. For a long time, if you had an ad model, that was the way to go. Those were the businesses that were getting better multiples for whatever reason. Really, I think Silicon Valley was driving a lot of it. Silicon Valley, and I'll say it here because I know some of you are from there, they tend to not like you charging for anything. They look down upon it, and that's just bullshit. Seriously. I would much rather, all financials being equal, I'll take the subscription business for many of the reasons that the gentleman up here mentioned. The businesses are often more scalable, predictable, right? The ad businesses are counting on visitors coming in mass, and you can't really control that. So I'll take the subscription business all day long.
I think also just factoring into that too is really I think as you were even mentioning in the previous question, it's really the cost per acquisition, right, and that you have to look at. So you may have tremendous revenue, but if your cost of goods and your cost of acquisition are out of control, it's really hard to put a valuation against that.
So let's talk about some good juicy secrets. You all can start. If you have any questions, we'll open up the audience in a little while, but you can also put out your questions on Twitter, and then just make sure at the end of the question put at Jason Nazar. We'll look some of them up, and then we'll ask them to folks here too. Don't ask stupid questions because everyone will see them all. Let's talk about some good juicy tidbits. I think we've got a good general stuff, but let's give people some meat to dive into, something to grab onto. what are some of the most valuable, like interesting little secrets that you've learned in doing subscription? Like I'll just throw out a couple of things. One of the things that I've heard from companies like yours, at scale, you'll charge different amounts based upon where people are in different parts of the country. So you say, hey, you're in Los Angeles, we're going to charge more than, for the same exact product than somebody in Atlanta. The fact that like where are really good places for people to buy traffic early on, to test out their subscription products. What are some things that work as far as price testing? Like, let's get into some of the details of things that you found. There's like good little tips and tricks that all the folks here can like run with.
I'll say something real quick. I keep talking, but really, when you're looking at the value of a user, here's a very helpful equation for you, okay, to write down literally. The value of your visitor is going to be your conversion rate. If you're charging for something, right, it's going to be you take your conversion rate, call it that 5% times the lifetime value of the subscription that you're going to get. Let's say it's even just whatever, $100. Right? So I said 5% times the $100, it's $5, right? Each of your visitors then is worth $5. Okay. The reason I bring that up is because it tells you how important getting the right combination of conversion rate and price and lifetime value actually is. Price is a huge part of the lever for you. And it's had a material impact on our business. We are, as Jason said, at MyLife.com, literally pricing based on who you are, what you're doing, where you're in your life cycle, what products you're expressing interest in, everything. It's,
how many price tests are you running at any given time?
There are right now like 300 buckets.
You have 300 different price tests for the same product.
Actually, there are 3 different products, so roughly 100 price tests per bucket. But the only reason we're able to do that is I have 46 million registered users, and we're adding like almost 3 million a month, and so you can't get to that kind of detail and have a matrix like that.
Let's say somebody's got 1,000 people coming a month. Can you still do this level of price testing?
2 buckets.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's so important. That's why, again, I'm going to pitch MediaPass. It's one of the first things when they went to go build an easy way for people to charge for subscriptions. They built in a way to price point test because a lot of people don't know what to charge, and it's such an important part of how you maximize your revenue. That's why they built it in, for example.
And it's not just price, right? It's price and packaging, right? So it's kind of like, what's your suite of offers, right, for a given price?
For
right?
sure. Last year, we just learned how important price was, especially in a recurring revenue business. We had hurt ourselves when we wrongly priced and were affected for a year by it. Now we're properly priced, and the sky's the limit on the growth of the business.
So we can definitely confirm that. I mean, one of the things that...
Up or down price change?
You never know. You have... Oh, we actually realized that we were underselling our product by more than half. Now the average sale, I don't even know. Yeah, it's 2 to 3 times what we were charging before. It depends on what bucket you fall in.
We started off charging for our DocStock product $3.95 a month, and we've taken it from $3.95 a month all the way up to $20. And we've only seen about a third of the people drop off, but you make 5 times as much money.
That's right.
So if you had 100 people that were going to buy, instead of 100 people buying, we have 66 people buying. But instead of buying it at $4, they're buying it at $20. So you're making, in effect, 2.5, 3 times as much money. One company I want to give a quick shout out to, in case you guys don't know it, Robin's stand-up page is in the back there. They've got a cool company, BetterWorks, that's doing subscription through a little bit different way. And what they're basically doing is helping companies like us give really unique employee benefits to all the folks there. Things like gym memberships, dry cleaning, masseuses in-house, at really discounted prices. So you all should talk to them because they've got their own subscription business, but kind of through a different model, but helping a lot of companies like ours. So other kind of tips and tricks and things that people should try out. Josh?
Well, I was going to make a comment. It's a little off of the question, but we're all talking about subscription businesses, and one theme that you might be picking up on is that all of our products are highly tailored towards converting people. And I think that's also a huge difference between running a subscription business and running a like an advertising-supported business. We haven't talked a lot about product development. We're talking mostly about
Let's
marketing.
talk about that. How do you build the hooks in your product that you get people to convert? Because I think it's a great point. I think you have to position your product completely differently from the get-go.
If you're an ad business, right, you want no barriers. You just come in. You probably want to drive page view volume. You want to drive registrations, but you're mostly probably interested in just driving volume, repeat visits, a lot of probably usage-focused metrics, right? For us, usage is great, but we're trying to convert people into paying. So it's fundamentally embedded into the product, if the product's going to be successful, that it drives people down a path towards paying. And I think that's true across the board. I know it is. I'm not sure how you do it exactly, but you always give something away for free.
And like the classic hook of every dating site is you can go on there, you can search for the people you're looking for, you see their profiles, you go to contact them, and it's like, okay, now take this personality test for 20 questions, and we'll match you and all this. So it's like showing people just enough of the stuff that they want, but they can't really get the thing that they want.
Yeah, I mean, it's really pay to, ours is pay to read. So, you can come on, you can search, you can message, but when you get messages in your inbox, you need to pay to read them. So there's a
people can actually, let's go through this.
Yeah.
You can set up a profile, and somebody can message you, and it's going to say you've got a message from...
Yeah, and subscriptions take place at the paywall. And I'm sure that's true for everyone here too. It's not, someone doesn't come in and go, boy, I'm going to subscribe today. They're driven to subscribe by something that they want that's behind the paywall. So whether it's, I came in and I found out what my credit history is, but I really want to know the score. The score is behind the paywall or whatever it is, right? So, and it's true for, I think, across the board.
What do you keep behind your paywall, Rob? The answer to the question? I mean, is it that you see the question and then
Sounds like a personal question.
So in terms of free members and what they get versus paid, to talk free members, I remember thinking, what is it that they do? You need to ask yourself, is it, if you were going to have a P&L, are they marketing? Are they contributing content so that you know what the cost to support them really means? In terms of reasons why people pay on our site, we took our content and we split it in half, and we said half of it is free, and if you want the other half, you have to pay for it. The other thing we do is we allow people to get in front of the line. So if you have a question, it's shown more often. That's a premium service. The other thing we do is allow the people to ask more questions. So your ability to ask more questions per month is a premium service. And then finally, service level. That being able to say, well, it has a higher probability of being answered in 2 hours is a reason why someone would pay, even though we can't guarantee it. If you ask a crazy mechanical engineering question, I can't say 100% we'll be able to answer it.
What are some of the other juicy tips and tricks, things that people are doing to make money on their online subscription businesses? What are you guys seeing? What are some of the most successful hooks in your subscription businesses?
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to give an example of a little startup that we looked at called Safety Web. So my little plug for a couple of my friends' company. Safety Web's really, I think they got a great model, kind of to your point, Josh, on the paywall, which is you can put in an email address, right? And they have a great engine that will go out and scour all 100+ different social networking websites, and they give you basically all the results, right? Only you can't get to them, right? Unless you pay. Right, so as soon as you go to click in and actually see what
everybody's talking about that email
address?
No,
it's basically, it builds like an online profile of who you are on the internet. So I can put in, Mark Kapczynski at Experian.com, and it'll, try to traverse all the social media sites that are out there and scour and pull anything reference to my name, my email, even my cell phone number. And it's pretty cool because it's like, it's like, why did IBM and HP put blinking lights on hard drives, right? It's cool to look at. So this thing just blinks back at you, and boom, you want to touch it.
What's interesting to me about that example is that a lot of our businesses, you have to be at some kind of scale to make it really work, right? You have to have enough people on your dating profile. There have to be people in the system, people searching for folks. Even you have to have some kind of critical mass of questions answered and asked. That's a good example of where just from the get-go, with one user, one email, you could charge a subscription service.
That's right.
One thing I'll say is that there is, even though our businesses are similar in that there's some kind, we're able to tease with something free and charge you more to see some detail. A lot of sites that I've seen, a lot of sites out there that just they have articles and content. you'd be surprised, right? Somebody had a demand for that, ended up on that article, ended up on that piece of content. They found it. And some people will pay for it, you know, if you just ask them. So just don't be afraid to actually try to charge for something. I'm telling you. You don't need the freemium model. You don't need the kind of hidden, special, secret network stuff that we have, you know.
Well, and you got to make it easy, right? I mean, the whole thing is, I think you even touched on it, Josh, you know, the usability factor of getting someone to convert. You can't put like 20 pages of questionnaires that they have to fill out. You really have to understand how to make it as super simple for someone to at least get into the system. So name, credit card, click yes.
So let's go over
then
that.
Go from there.
I want one of you to volunteer to let us look at one of your landing pages, an actual purchase page, and let's go through why you're doing certain things. Because Jeff, I came into your office, it was about a year ago, and I was showing you the page where people buy stuff from us. At that time, it was just a single document. And we did this kind of classic Web 2.0 thing where with the big bubbly fields, it was really easy text to see, kind of what you'd see on any Web 2.0 site. And your immediate reaction was, like, that's wrong. Like, the field should be much smaller. You should get rid of a lot of the fields, make it really small and tight. And I was thinking, like, this is going to make it look like it's something from 1997. No sophisticated internet user is going to do it. And we did it, and immediately we saw about like twice as many people paying, or some really big number of people paying, and that was so counter.
That was 2
Years
years
of
of bucket
options
testing.
off of
That
that.
was 2 years of bucket testing.
But it was so counterintuitive to me. So, I mean, things like that. Like, can we go to one of your pages? Do you want to give us the URL for one of your pages where there's a purchase page?
Jason, explain why that happened.
Well, Jeff can probably explain better than I can.
Well, I mean, we just learned through testing, as you can tell. Probably everybody on this stage that's actually spending money to acquire customers trying to get them to pay for something valuable is probably testing the pages that people land on. So when you get a visitor to a page, you ideally have a way to see how many people get through with this version A versus this version B, and you can get more complicated than that. And we just learned through a lot of different kinds of testing. You have a good, clear value proposition at the top, simple set of fields, as was mentioned, clear branding, sometimes testimonials or some kind of information around credibility for who you are is good. The little things like that.
I think
Real quick, I'll answer the question in a different way, which is I don't think the why matters. I can tell you what I think my why is. It seems less daunting to the user. Those smaller fields actually make you think of something like your bank website or credit card website that still do it. But the fact of the matter is, I don't fucking know. I don't think anyone knows. You don't need to be a psychologist. You just need to figure out what the result is. And that's the value of the testing. Don't assume. Don't try to figure out what it's going to be. Just try different things. And the biggest thing I can say is we have a philosophy at DocStock, and when Jeff sees our purchase page, he's going to laugh at it. But we really just copy other sites. We don't try to figure stuff out on our own. We look at other people that are doing things well, and we copy on what they do, and we iterate. And
That's good.
And
And
instead of
we
trying
call it a
to-
philosophy.
Yeah. And instead of trying to figure out what the user's thinking and all these complicated things, the fact of the matter is, like, none of us are smart enough to figure out, but the data will tell you, and enough people will tell you what they want, and let that be your guiding principle. So will one of you volunteer one of your purchase pages that we can look at and kind of go through?
Does everybody here require like a registration?
Yeah, it
though?
takes you
like
long,
I
I
know.
think, But
Let's look at yours.
Well, you're going to... No,
Let's look at yours. It's
Let's look at
okay.
yours.
You
You,
can look at
yeah.
somebody other
You
than ours.
try to
I
volunteer
need to
everyone else.
I need to justify my cut.
Where's Alan here? Where's Alan? Oh, I didn't make it? Product manager got turned away. That's awesome. Let me see if I can pull this up.
I can give you an example while you're doing that of something that's kind of counterintuitive that we did. So we took the registration process that you might normally think of as being in a form, and we broke it out so that each page was only one question. So it would say male, female. That would be the first question, and you'd click male or female, and then you go to the next page. And it would do it like that, and then it gave you sort of a status meter. So you can test, like, is it good to show a status meter, or is it good to not show a status meter at all, so they don't know how far they are or what step they're on. But it made it much less daunting. It's just one question at a time. The other thing that we did was we made it so, it's the type of thing where it's there's two choices, and you click on one or the other choices. There's an OK button. you don't have to hit the OK button. It just goes to the next page. But it does better with the OK button on there than with it not on there because it just looks more familiar. But we don't want to have the user have to have the step of clicking on male or female and then clicking OK. But it works better with OK on there. So, but it just flies from page to page. And then all the pages, I'm not sure how they did it technically, but their load time is 0. Like, they just flash like that. You're just on the next page, so making it really fast. Like, it's all those crazy things like that. But breaking what would have been a form into like 8 pages, you might think, well, now it's 8 pages long. It might not be as good.
Yeah, it's pretty
but
counterintuitive.
it was better.
But it also, that's something we're trying, but it kind of like impregnates the user. Each step that you go through, you feel more sense that, okay, I came this far, I'm going to keep going.
I already went through 4 steps, so I might as well keep going. Versus you see the whole form, you're like, forget it.
I mean, I think part of it, right, is giving the consumer a reward, right, at each step so that they know that they're getting through it and feel good about it, right, and, and really optimizing again.
So, Jeff, I'm going to let you critique our page. So, real quick, one of the things that we modeled after MyLife, so Jeff taught us this, right, a tight form field. We used to have a much bigger form field, and we went to, like, an actual form field where you put in the payments here. It did a lot better. We made sure that we had things credibility to the point that you said try to have one strong, clear headline, and then the different monthly memberships. And obviously, we try to do this to drive people into memberships where they pay upfront in advance.
And people are used to that now. It's not a terrible thing, right? People are used to the idea that if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to make a longer-term commitment. Even if I'm paying upfront, I'm getting a better deal. And so that's a best practice for sure.
That looks just like our landing page.
Do you have one of the examples of the multi-step questions that we can go to? Do you know how to get to one of those URLs?
Yeah, just go to seniorpeoplemeet.com.
Can we sign somebody up here?
It's in your bookmarks, Jason.
I can't remember how to get up my own page.
Jason, can I make a comment? 2 points. You'll need to determine on your barrier page, you'll need to determine how transparent, how upfront you're going to be about your auto-renew policy. You can make it really, really big. You can make it really small. And even if you think you're finding a optimal balance, you're still going to get tons of complaints from your customers saying, I didn't know it was going to renew. The second thing you'll need to do is determine how you communicate your annual membership price. You'll notice that we probably all communicated annualized, like, in our case, it's as of $833 a month, when in reality, on the very next step, you're going to charge them for all of it up front. And again, our number one customer service issue is people saying, I thought it was going to bill me $833. Even though I don't think we do anything deceiving and we're really clear, they don't get it. And then we have an issue of then having to do a billing swap. And billing swaps, at least from what I understand, is just a nightmare in accounting as well. So those are 2 points.
Quick question, do you auto-renew the annual account?
We do. And
so the question is, do you auto-renew the annual accounts, or let's say any upfront account that you did 3 months, 6 months?
Full term for another full 12 months.
so what we do is on the annual, we'll send an email 1 month in advance. Again, they'll say they didn't get it, went to spam, whatever, but we validate that it went. For the monthly, we don't. It's just, when they get, we bill them and then we send them an invoice for it. It'll be higher. Yeah, it'll be higher. I mean, it's just the, credit card statement shock, seeing this thing at $100.
So Josh, walk me through. You just want me to put in any stuff here to get through the next step?
Yeah, this actually is not the page-by-page one. Another sort of tip or trick I could mention is we're running, like if you click on a Facebook ad or a Google ad or an affiliate ad, it might be a totally different registration process. And at this point, I couldn't even tell you how to get to the right one, but I'm sure it's optimal. If you just type in a zip code and then just make up a username, make up an email address.
Thank you. You did not put me in there. Okay.
You're already in.
Jeff at MyLife, can we sign you up?
What are you doing? My girlfriend's here. She's going to kill me. I didn't know you were into that weird stuff, Jeff.
Your email box is going to be full by the time you get home.
It'll be good competitor practice. You were born in 1963, Jeff.
Okay.
Do you qualify?
So this is just a 2-page form. So you go you would just choose.
I'm none of those
And what?
guys.
So can you walk us through what's the philosophy behind doing these multi-step processes here?
Did you make him a female? Oh no, you haven't chosen yet.
I don't know, but we'll make him 4'5". I want to see what kind of senior women go for 4'5". Mixed-race men.
You made it. I can tell you made him a female because it's showing all men.
What body type do you want to be, Jeff?
I don't care.
Big and beautiful.
A few extra pounds.
Stunning looking. I love it. Stunning looking 4.5. Widowed. Sorry, Jeff. 10 plus.
Sorry, Jeff.
Because this is all going to my email. You guys are going to deliver me matches.
They smoke. All right. Join for free. Wow. Can you really join for free?
Yeah. Oh, choose your smoking preference.
I think it's a Safari issue.
You can choose. It's right
to the
there.
right.
Oh. No, it's a Jason issue. I'm sorry. So now what's going on?
You
here?
don't. So to the point of low friction, you don't have to enter any of this right now.
Gotcha. And you actually expect seniors to be able to read this text?
Yeah. I'm gonna fix that when I get back.
And so where does now the hook for you're saying now they can restart receiving messages. So Jeff's going to get messages of women or men, we're not sure, that look 4'5", stunning people that are widowed with 10 children.
Right.
And it's going to say, you've
He's
got
a catch.
He's a catch. All right, I like this. All right, so let's start opening it up to some questions in the audience. Don't ask dumb questions or I'm going to make fun of you, and then I'll check on Twitter and see what we got there. So over here, stand up, say who you are, briefly where you're at, and then go ahead and we'll get started.
Hi, Randall Green. You were talking about raising prices, and that's a big theme about figuring out what it is. How do you raise prices How do you raise prices without pissing off people?
We did not raise prices for the people on their renewal, right? So if you were grandfathered in at, call it $5 a month, you keep paying your $5 a month until you're done. People don't really talk. Think about it this way. When you go into the store, do you know what that suit costs in the other place? Do you know when they've really marked it down or up? If our customers, when they're getting to the page, are making a decision for themselves. Is this worth it to me to pay what they're asking me to pay right now? So it's, we're just pricing based on a lot of factors that include what is it that you're trying to get access to? How important is that? Where are you in your life cycle? For instance, we might think that somebody's that's been registered with us for 6 months, it has a much lower propensity to pay, and therefore we might price it much lower so we can get them in. So it's okay.
I think you'll be continually surprised at how much your users will pay.
Yeah.
I can say we found that to be the case. So you'll find the right balance, but keep moving it up incrementally, and you'll be very, very surprised at really how much they are willing to pay for it.
I think from a mechanical standpoint too, what you do is just have a bunch of different landing pages, right? That you're, again, hopefully what you've heard from us tonight, right, is you have to control your traffic, where you're getting leads basically from, right? And so you may have different landing pages that you're testing out different pricing based off of someone coming in from a Facebook ad versus a search link versus TV versus something else. Mm-hmm. And then you can adjust the price on
One note on price for us is, for the longest time, it was $9.95, and we last fall pushed it up to $14.95. And what we're seeing is that, initially it didn't really affect in terms of new members in the first month, but over time, as you start seeing from that cohort the new lifetime value, it is more expensive, and they'll see it on their credit card statement. So you can't automatically assume it'll have the same subscription length when you're raising the price.
Great. So other questions? We got one in the back over there, Tucker, standing up. We got a microphone coming, and we have to be more specific about.
Okay. I'm Bert Doman from Doman Research. We have rather high-priced subscription services for investors. And I was just wondering, we use recurring billing. Everybody's on recurring billing now. which has been very successful. My question is just, if you sell a 6-month subscription or a 1-year subscription at a lower rate, what do you do if the person after, let's say, 3 or 4 months decides he wants to cancel? Do you give refunds?
I mean, I can tell you our policy. On the site, it says that we don't give refunds, quite honestly, because people are getting value out of the service immediately. In reality, we are very customer friendly. They can cancel online. They can call our customer service, which is open many, many hours during the day. I mean, we'll try and explain the value to the customer, and we will reduce their price, and we will give a full refund even, because we're trying to take care of the customers at the end of the day. But that's the approach that we take.
So one of the things that we found, Bert, too, because we've had the same thing. It's what you find is that the extra money you make by getting the money up front still makes up more for whatever the cancellations are on those people that are taking advantage of the system. So it may not be the case in your situation, but in our case, that certainly was true.
Yeah, one thing I was mentioning to Jason before the thing, too, is once you start charging people for something,
That was actually the original name for these talks, The Thing. So it's like you nailed it dead on.
Right, before The Thing, before Startup Uncensored 20. We were talking...
We got to brand it, Startups Uncensored.
So... we were talking about how once you start charging, the bar for customer service is so much higher. And when you're a free service, people expect nothing from you. And when you're a paid service, they expect the world from you. And
just that $1, literally, that first dollar you charge.
It's totally different. And furthermore, probably 80 or 90% of the customer service issues you're going to see are billing. So all the issues that you didn't have when you were, the product worked great, is self-explanatory. You might figure, I'm going to start charging, and I don't have any customer service today, so I won't need it in the future. It's not just that they want more help. It's not really that. It's billing questions, which really means refund. So you just have to build in a process to just take care of it, but it all works out.
But I mean, even on that point, though, I mean, that's also an opportunity, right? I mean, if someone's going to reach out to you, right, take advantage of that, right, and try to convince them to stay, right, and show them the value of your product or your offering or your data or your service, right? So, I mean, customer service and cancellations isn't a bad thing, right? I mean, if you embrace it properly.
So let's try to get in a bunch more questions. Let's go ahead and we'll just try to keep knocking out some of these questions so we can get as many in as possible. In the back there.
Hillary from thepurplebook.com. Jason asked it earlier. What are some of your best recommendations for where you guys buy traffic from?
Whatever works. I mean, it really comes down to measuring it, I think, is that you just never know what's going to work. Whatever is...
Can you list off a bunch of places so at least they get a sense of all the different places?
You have to start. You should start with Google, of course. And at a certain point, then you can, depending on your product, you might get to the point where you can start to buy just display ads randomly anywhere if your product appeals to a broad enough market and what you can generate from the impressions is worth it. And then you go to television, you just never know. And start on Google and...
Josh, where do you buy traffic?
Well, I was going to say I think the best places to buy traffic are sort of, do you want to get in really early? So if something's big and it's early, you have the best chance of getting a good deal. I think when we started getting on Facebook, we were killing it, just crushing it on Facebook. When they first started, it was funny because when they first started ads, we we always dip our toe in. So we had really narrow targeting, really tight, budget caps, all this stuff. We didn't spend a nickel, nothing. So they loosened it up a little, finally, and one of me, I'm like, I dare you to spend money. Just try to spend something. We put our bids up to $50. We did everything. We still couldn't spend money. And then they launched like a big upgrade of their, I don't know if anyone else had this experience, but they launched this big upgrade of their system. All of a sudden, everything changed, and we were just crushing it on Facebook. It was huge volume, huge return, and it closed over time. And now, it's still a productive source, but it was like shooting fish in a barrel for a while. And then, and I would say the opportunity that's like that now is mobile. So, mobile right now, early days, if you can get online and start acquiring through mobile, that's, it'll close, but that is a good one right now.
Next question.
Back to your point about the most
Who
of
are
the...
you?
My name's Tyler. Well, back to your point that... that's hilarious, right? So, your point that a lot of the customer service issues are related to the charging and the billing. What is, kind of a nuts and bolts question, your preferred automatic billing system, and at what point do you switch over to invoicing as opposed to ARB, or are you using Chargeify? Are you using Authorize? Are you using QuickBooks for your invoicing? What's your preferred method to kind of minimize that, the amount of customer support you have to deal
It
with?
sounds like there's two questions. If you're not don't have your own billing system, what third parties you use, and then what do you use for the invoicing of it?
Tell them about MediaPass.
We use MediaPass.
Literally, I mean, we wanted to make it easy for people to start using MediaPass. You just drop this JavaScript on your page, and they handle everything from positioning the page right to pricing correctly to handling the customer service and doing the recurring billing and all that stuff. And maybe you start and you try that, and you really ought to try. And if it works, great. Maybe you move on to your own kind of system. Our whole thing is that I think we're going to beat you at, like, if you go and try and do it yourself at MediaPass, they're justifying taking a piece of the revenue because we're good at it, right? We're good at the positioning and the pricing and handling all the pieces because we've become good in all the past businesses I've been involved in. So,
Do you want to give away like 1 or 2 free media passes? Can we do that? Can we
No, no, the
give
whole-
away a free media pass here?
well, this is for people that run a site, right? So if you have a site, you sign up for free, you grab the code, and you drop it on your pages. You decide what pages it goes on, and they make it really
and then
easy.
you sharing the revenue of it,
We
right?
take a piece of the revenue, and it depends on your volume. We take a piece of the revenue, but here's what's interesting, right? I'm the chairman, right? But the CEO's here. We have so many
Stand
examples.
Up. Who's the CEO? Stand up, because you're going to get some people asking you afterwards about this. Where are you at?
Where is he? He's
Hey.
in the back over there. So many companies that had advertising on their site dropped this on, and the average CPM that the customers they're working with are making now is more than $100. It's like $125, right? $130 average CPM for the visitors that are going to the site now, and Jason's another example of a company that listened, kind of applied to some of these practices based on what we learned, and it's worked out very well for DocStock too, and his product's worth it, right? So the Media Pass, try it. It's an easy way to get a read.
Are there any other tools you use early on, third-party tools used for automatic billing? I mean, PayPal does automatic prescription billing now, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, billing and payments are two different things, and you have to actually look at it from that standpoint too, because I mean, so many people use debit cards versus credit cards versus prepaid cards. I mean, there's so many different ways now.
I'm just saying, if you've got some kind of web service, we got Media Pass down, let's get 1 or 2 others, and you need to set up monthly recurring billing. How do you do that if you haven't built it all out yourself internally? What tools do you guys know about that you like?
Well, I was going to ask you because you started charging more recently, and
We just built it out though all internally.
did you? But you went out and sought out payment processors.
We did. We found a payment processor and are switching payment processors, but we built all the functionality internally to do the recurring billing.
It's a big investment for people.
See, I mean, again, don't overlook the payment side of it, because if someone does give you a debit card or a prepaid card, it's really hard to do recurring billing against a prepaid card.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are a lot of subtleties to
Let's
that.
get a question over there in the front then.
Hi, Kevin from groupbuy.com. For those that sell intangibles like Jason's site, do you have any method to police people from sharing access? Because we've got a number of things on some of our social networking sites where we sell intangibles, and we can sell it on limited supply, but we find that people go on their social networking sites and share it with their friends, and suddenly we notice, our site's being accessed through, one node through 30 different IP addresses or something.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's just, I think to some degree it's a general cost of doing business. You can probably do things like block IPs and restrict access that way, but I mean, you probably have the same problem.
Don't want to get technical, but I mean, one way is if you're managing sessions and one person's logged in under an account and you get another one logging in, you block them both and shut the account down. That teaches people really quick.
I mean, that or, just simply add, like an extra add a wallet question. Like, so more and more sites that I'm just personally using are asking for, what city were you born in or other facts, so that, someone might get your credentials, but they won't have your add a wallet
The
answers.
simple answer, I'd say in the beginning, I wouldn't worry about it much. I mean, the people that they're sharing it with probably aren't going to end up buying it anyway, so you're not really losing money. And early on, it's probably if people are actually, if there's enough value in your product that people want to share their password and login, like kudos, let them do it. Like give it away as many folks as possible, especially if it's not a tangible good.
It's like coupon codes.
Yeah. Let's try to get a little, we'll get one more question here, but let's get a little diversity in the room. I felt like this whole side of the room is neglected.
I don't know if this is, there, now it's working. Hi. With the vast amount of data that you guys harvest, you have a pretty good idea.
Wait.
I'm sorry, it's Bruce Ettinger with Frame Health. And this is really, all of you guys have vast amounts of data. You have a pretty good idea of when folks are going to churn out. And I was wondering if you ever, within the subscription model, preemptively, just sort of step down the price. If you're charging $20 a month, you have a pretty good idea between 6 and 8 months you're going to lose the guy. Say, you know, for $4 a month, you can stay in for 2 years or something. Have you ever experimented with that? And if so, what kind of results have you had with that?
We do. I mean, on the site, you can actually cancel your subscription, and so that represents a perfect opportunity we found to convince you to stay and make you a special deal, you know.
Yeah, we do the same.
One of the things that we do is students end up wanting to cancel May, right at the end of their term. And we tell them you can actually pause your subscription and then come back, you know, in 3 months. It'll just continue from that point, and it's worked out pretty well. It's an accounting nightmare, but...
All right, next questions. Want to get someone over here? And then CJ, you have the next one down here in front. Tucker?
How does MediaPass compare to Magento, or is it... Oh, Jonathan Shokrian. And how does it compare to Magento, or is it any similar at all?
I'm not familiar with Magento. The whole thing is that for
I can answer it really quickly.
Yeah,
Magento
okay.
is a in-the-box e-commerce solution. So it's not necessarily meant for subscription billing. It's just if you need to run an e-commerce transaction on your site for any product, good, or service. MediaPass is a way to take an existing site you have for content or something else, restrict access to it, and then set up monthly billing around it.
Yeah, you just have to put literally a piece of code on the pages that you want to block access to. That's the whole thing, and it's like so you don't have to do all the back-end technical work at all.
Next
That's
question
it.
over there.
Hi, my name's Keith. I'm with I-85 Media. I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper into Jeff's question about raising prices on renewals. You said not to raise prices on renewals. I'm going to assume that you don't mean that for perpetuity, right? Because in 100 years, you're probably not going to be charging a client the same amount. So at what point, assuming that your expenses stay about the same, at what point would you reinvestigate that? Like a year, 5 years, 10 years? How do you decide?
What I meant by that was if somebody purchases a certain program, they get the benefit of the value of whatever price they paid at the time they purchased for the rest of their life, right? So if they paid $5 and they, continue to renew and they got a great deal, let's say, because we figured out that we can charge $10, that guy, as long as he stays with us, will keep getting billed $5 forever. We're thanking him as a customer. He made a wise choice. He won. No, and so it's fine. We keep them on forever. But if they drop their subscription, and it lapses, they're going to go back in and get priced what the then current, whatever we're charging at that time.
You can't just automatically change the billing cycle or price on someone on the fly without notification. So if you were on a particular billing cycle, you decided that you wanted to raise it by a few dollars, you'd have to give the consumer notice and they'd have to, in essence, re-opt in.
What do you guys do to address... I'm Alec from Gotcast.com. What do you guys do to address insufficient funds and declines?
We're trying to figure that out. I'm kind of really curious about this.
I can
on a monthly basis, or
we have a recycling program. So basically, what you do is you set up a system where you give the guy, say, an extra week and hope that a week later he has the funds. You basically give him an extra week access and then try the card again. And then you can figure out these sophisticated recycling programs based off what credit card they're using, where the credit card, what bank issued the credit card, and there are experts out there that help you with all that stuff.
Josh?
We do something similar to that, but I also was going to say that I think based on, not sure if we do this or not, but based on the card number, the beginning of it, you can tell a lot of times what kind of card it is. And again, I'm not sure if we do this, but you can look and see like a gift card, for instance. Like if it's a $50 gift card, you might look at it and you might say, okay, I know that I'm not going to be able to hit this card again very likely, so maybe I'll offer them something up front that's a different deal than you would get if you had a different card.
I'm kind of curious to see, I'll share our numbers. I think we get, we launched our premium product about 6 months ago now, or a little bit less. We get about each day or month, 15 to 20% of people that we should be able to charge not going through. I mean, we think that's a high number we're trying to solve for, but what are you guys seeing as far as declines or unauthorizations, bad cards?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's one of those things where there's so many different payment options now that a lot of the payment processors, I mean, none of us are a payment gateway ourselves, right? So we all rely on these third parties to be able to,
Who do you use for your payment processor?
I mean, we use a bunch of different providers, actually, to try to get that full reach because there are so many different types of cards now, right? And so, one particular payment provider might be better for debit cards versus someone else might be good for gift cards, right? Who can really recognize a gift card.
But how do you do that on the fly dynamically? How do you know which payment processors to put against which signups?
It's just part of, entering in the number and so on, right?
We use a company called Lidl. We've been really, really happy with them. They handle all the credit cards with the exception of kind of American Express. They now support PayPal. They now support Discover. And I think what's really important is that you as the entrepreneur are able to tie your bank statement and each deposit from your bank statement all the way back to your payment processor's reports. Lidl, L-I-T-L-E.
We use Lidl as well, and Matt uses Chase Payment Tech.
Do you have, between the two, is there any discernible difference? One that you like better than the other, pros and cons?
It's sort of like a no news is good news kind of relationship. It should just work, I mean, I don't know if, I think for smaller enterprises, if you can find a smaller processor like a Lidl, they might work with you a little more hand in hand to help you with things like chargebacks and declines and sort of give you some strategies for it. I think if you're more mature and you know what you're doing, you tend to want the lowest price.
Jeff, who do you guys use?
We use Lidl as well. Yep.
All right. It's a good endorsement for them. They should sponsor our events. All right, let's go to the next question. Who do we have?
Hi, Ali Longoria from WeClickAndGetRich.com. And my question is what did you use on the back end at the beginning of your subscription sites? And I don't know if you guys all came in without the techie and when it was already a higher numbers. But when you first started out, were you using something like Aweber or Amember rather for the back end? Were you using a different kind of technology to keep your subscription?
If you hand the mic to Alon, he'll tell you what we use, but we built most of it in-house for us. In the meantime, if any of you guys want to answer.
You mean?
Not sure I understand what the question exactly.
How do we first start out?
To do what? To charge money, to do the reports? We build everything from scratch, yeah.
That's a really helpful answer. We built everything. You're screwed. Unless you've got me, you
find
can't do
good
any
developers
of this.
that will build the code for you.
All right, I'm going to go to the next question. That was awesome. Let's get one over here because we haven't got this side of the room at all. My friend over here in the hat.
John Cristani, National Positions. This is for Robert. I just wanted to know which advertising medium, like pay-per-view, Facebook, Google, gives you the best ROAS.
Let's see. Initially, Google worked great for us. From the very beginning, we built the business off, Google Ads. Interesting that, about 3 years ago, we were experimenting with Facebook, and it didn't really work. Then a year ago, we tried it again, and it was working great for us, and they had that post-impression tracking, and that was actually like showing us that, God, this is working, the CPA makes sense, and they took it away. And we have no way of, they don't provide that post-impression, so we're having to extrapolate based off like whatever months we were able to collect when we had it. But that one had a really good ROI for us.
All right, we've got time for about 2 more questions.
We have a couple requests for people to answer the question from the woman with the Get Rich site.
We do, okay. All right, so stuff that you used early on to get your payment processing system going.
I think everybody on the stage actually just built it themselves. It's an investment. It is,
Let's open it up to the crowd. Are any of you using third-party systems to run your online subscription billing? If you are, raise your hand. Paige, what are you guys doing?
We use Zora.
Can you give them the mic?
Zora.
Now I can say it loud. We use Zora. Zao evaluated like 5 different processors, and we got a really gravy deal, so we went with Zora.
It's Z-O-R-A?
Z something with an R and an A. I'm not Vanna White, dude, but it's got an O and a U somewhere in there.
Cool. Can you get over here in the front?
We use a web app called cheddargetter.com. How is it? It's excellent. It's excellent. And I know Recurly also does something similar. And Chargeify. I compared all of them. What we needed is that we needed to add on some charges throughout the period, and only CheddarGetter allowed you to do that, where you have them set on a certain amount, but then you can add metered charges. So CheddarGetter does metered charges.
Any other recommendations before we go on to the next question? All right. Or do you have a question, Paige? I do have. All right. Let's have Beyonce ask you a question.
So guys, Paige Craig with BetterWorks. Support's a big thing, obviously subscription, and you're going to charge people forever. What do you guys recommend as far as whether having it in-house versus out-of-house? And what systems, there's Zendesk and Assistly, and even Salesforce is a clunky piece of crap. What do you guys use?
Don't put it in the outhouse. No. We actually started doing it in-house at first for us, and, one person, really. And then, eventually we got to the point where we actually have our management and maybe about 5 people in-house that are managing an outsourced group because they were better at it than we were. So we actually have a combo.
We do use Salesforce.
Oh, you mean for the actual CRM tool or to actually...
Or the call center
or the call center. We built the tool, the customer care tool in-house ourselves, but there are off-the-shelf tools that make it easy. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we built our tool in-house. Same thing. It needs to do very specific things, and it can be strategic in a way to get really good at it, and people aren't necessarily going to build that for you, for your industry, for exactly what you need. And then from a customer service or backend, we review every profile, every photo, every line of text, everything gets reviewed for all of our profiles. So there's a big back-end editorial function, as well as phones, as well as email support. And we're a similar model where before we were owned by Match, we did it all in-house. Now we've gone with Match, we're sort of more of a management structure inside and then manage a number of outsourced partners. We can sort of direct flow to different places based on how they're performing or whatever. I think you don't want to get tied down to one provider because the relationships, I think, can go sour and you need something to keep them honest. So I would recommend straddling several different providers if you can.
From our perspective, I think it's important for you to realize that you need to anticipate anger. Like your customer just got their credit card statement and they're like, what the heck, you just charged me for it? And the way to alleviate that is to make sure that they can get in contact with someone. So 24 hours, 7 days a week, they should either be able to get on the phone with someone or chat. And we don't provide 24/7 phone support. I mean, we just kind of started doing it. We would send them straight to voicemail, and we get some very interesting voicemails. But now, we make sure that, during 12 hours of the day, they can talk to somebody. And and for whatever reason, if all the lines are tied up, on the voicemail it says, we will get back to you right away within 12 hours. And then we now ensure that we have 24/7 chat support. And then we do it in-house. So we actually have an office in India, but it's our office. It's fully owned subsidiary. It's my people, and they'll do the chat. And then with the phone support, it's done in Pasadena.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to ask a question, which is for you guys as well, around mobile acquisition, right? So I mean, we talked a lot about web and web traffic and so on, but how are you guys seeing sort of mobile acquisition to your sites, and sort of what percentage of your overall traffic's coming from mobile, or do you have apps to do acquisition as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting well into the double digits in terms of percentage of logins coming in through mobile. So we're seeing, huge.
What about acquisition, though?
On the acquisition side, I'm not sure how much is as percentage, but I know that it's very, very efficient. I can't speak to the volume.
Our traffic to our site through mobile devices has actually gone up tenfold in the past year. We were just shocked by it. As far as yes. As far as spending money through mobile platforms and trying to make that work, we've had some success and some not, and some campaigns that haven't worked. It's still early, and we're testing.
Are you going to build mobile apps or iPad apps?
We are. We just built a WAP site. That's where you should start if you're, going to do something. Just make it just to start, right, and make sure that you can make that work. I mean, that's where we invested first before. And
that's the path we're pursuing as well. So Match is fully mobile with apps across every platform. So I'm just getting started with my sites, and we're going to start with WAP. And we've done all the research, and you can actually make them function a lot more like native apps now. There's a lot of stuff you can do, apparently having to do with HTML5 and other things like that to make them a lot slicker. And you can do wrappers and things like that to get yourself on the deck. So there's ways to stage it, and then you can go build native apps kind of from there. That's at least our plan.
So I know we've got a lot more questions, and certainly in an hour and a half's time, we're only going to scratch the very tip of the surface on everything you can know about online subscription businesses. But most importantly, I wanted to say thank you to an absolutely amazing panel: Jeff, Mark, Josh, Rob. You're all folks that I've learned an incredible amount from, that I consider to be some of the most foremost and knowledgeable folks in the subject. And I just think you were all incredibly generous with your time and your knowledge tonight. And I'm sure you're going to get a lot more questions. So in just a moment, we're going to break. They'll break down the room. We're going to have some food, sandwiches, and pizza in the back. I don't know if it's enough to feed you all for a full dinner, but we'll be here hanging out. We'll be doing these events on a monthly basis. We'll send out the next invite. I want to thank you all for coming out. Thank the Milk Institute. Thank Microsoft again for helping us out. You guys can try out the DocSoc offer once again if you are web designers or know of any. We are looking to hire those, product managers, marketing folks. So let me know. And thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. And
thank you, Jason, and his team.